Hey everybody, Rorree here. We're with another part of story time. I am Isis. I'm the reincarnation of Isis. I'm with the goddess Isis Coven. All right, so let me continue this story. So I walk in, I sit down, I'm on the bed with the young lady, and she opens her eyes, and boy, she has beautiful eyes, beautiful eyelashes. She's a beautiful young lady. She opens her eyes, and the eyes are totally black. So I'm like freaking out, but not freaking out. I mean, I should really play poker because I really do have a good poker face. Okay. So if I want to, okay. So I'm sitting there like, holy cannoli. What the higgity biggity is this? Okay. So she's talking to me and she's like, hi, Miss Rorree. And so I talked to her and I was just trying to talk to her about spirits and things of that nature and about healing work. And I'm trying to like educate her a little bit. And then she says to me, she goes, did you see the movie called Emily Rose? No. I said, that's that movie. No, I didn't see that. And I told her, I don't like movies like that. I used to be into horror movies when I was a child, but half that stuff is real. And no, I did not see that. And I said, why? And she said, because. I was like, well, what happened in the movie? Because obviously she wanted to tell me something about the movie. So what happened in the movie? And so she said, well, she was possessed and then the demons that were in her, they wanted to her. Okay. Well, how did it end? You know, I'm hoping for a happy ending. And she goes, they, her. And I was like, well, that's a crappy ending. That's what I said. That's a crappy ending. I'm definitely not seeing that movie. And that's what I said, right? And I mean, I'm going to tell y'all, I laugh all the time. And I laugh even when it might be time to cry sometimes. I'm not joking. That's just me. I laugh all the time. I find humor in the darndest things. And I joke, you know, I like to lift the spirit. So I'm like, well, that's a crappy movie. And so then she says, and that's what they're going to do to me. And I was like, don't say that. You know, no, they're not, you know, and I'm just like, so we're having this dialogue. And then she said, I said, well, you know, so that definitely doesn't happen, I want you to go with me. Let's go. I have a friend, her name is Monique, and let's go and blah, 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 right? And she said, they're saying that she's a witch. And I was like, okay. Well, she's not a witch. She's a friend of mine. She's a nice person, da-da-da-da, you know. And then she said, they don't want me to go. Well, they don't have to want you to go. You could go. You have free will. You can go if you want to go. Come on, let's go. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a nice ride. I'm trying to convince her to go, right? And so then she sits up a little bit and she opens her eyes and looks at me and she says, we're not going to let her go. And so the voice changed. They were talking like it wasn't her talking no more. It was somebody else talking. And I was like, oh, hell no. Because one thing that Joe said, do not engage with them, right? So I'm like, I'm not talking to you. Okay, so to this day, I will never forget this part, right? I started yelling. I started calling her name out, right? And I called her name and called her name and called her name. And I said, I'm not talking to you. And I yelled her name. And so it was kind of crazy. And so then it was like she looked at me. And then she said, Miss Rorree, I'm going to go to bed now. And I was like, that was the weirdest shit I'd never experienced in my life. And then she she said, Miss Rorree, no disrespect, but I'm going to go to bed now. And she turned over and turned her back to me. And so I said, well, okay then. And so I left. I went downstairs and I told the mom, I said, this is everything that transpired. And I was like, this is not good. And so then she went and another lady went upstairs. And it was the lady that I thought was strange. And so then you hear this yelling, Mom, if you send another person up here, blah, 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 right? And so now we're still downstairs. There's several of us downstairs. So I call Monique. Monique, look, this don't look like it's going to happen. And I told Monique what happened. And she was like, tell the mom to just bring her. What's the problem? Who's the parent? Like, she's getting very angry. But I really understand the dilemma that the mother is in, right? And so maybe 10 minutes later, the other lady comes downstairs and says, she's fine now. And so then the mom goes upstairs, and then the mom comes downstairs and says, she's fine now. And I was like, okay. And so Monique was like, Rorree, get out of there. I was like, okay. And so my mother and I, we left, we went into the car. And when I got into the car, I had a flood of information come to me. And so I released all the information. I told my mother everything that was coming to me. And then, and what I got was that, and actually, I'm going to continue in the next one.